So really was at NOAH already 6 years ago, Anton, right?
5 years, 2019.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
5, 6.
And have your dreams materialized since then?
I think to some extent, of course, when you think about some of the plans we had, some of them were like, of course, like set back a little bit by COVID, because COVID basically meant that like 99% of our business was like reduced. But even though we had like some plans, they ended up materializing in a different direction. So we, after like London and Paris, we wanted to expand to the US. And what happened during the pandemic is a lot of like wealthy European families and a lot of entrepreneurs moved to the region. And Dubai eclipsed any other destination in terms of relevance for our customers. And so this is how we ended up working on launching Dubai right after the pandemic. And finally...
No US, but Dubai. That was a big change.
Well, that was the biggest change for us, which we would never had foreseen in like 2019, exactly.
And by the way, Dubai is the largest market for James Edition, the luxury classified real estate business. 28% of the buyers' leads are in Dubai. So Dubai seems to be the hottest market at the moment for luxury chauffeur services. Let's take a step back. What is Really? We see a great partner for us, and I used yesterday the service. It works, if I may say so, better than Uber because the waiting time is actually real. I don't use Uber because of the waiting lie. It's a waiting time lie, right? They lie to you about the waiting time.
So what do you mean?
They tell you the car's there in 4 minutes, and then it goes to 6 minutes, and eventually they just play around with you. So I stopped using it. Really seems to be different, but that's not the only difference, I guess. Anton, give us a quick overview about Really.
Of course. So the problem with mass market ride-hailing services is that they have the convenience of one hand of like using an app, but there is a service gap for business travelers and like high net worth individuals. So you either have to use a mass market ride-hailing app and compromise for service, which is what you're like describing, or you have to go to these like old school chauffeur companies, call them, WhatsApp them.
Edison Lee?
No, I mean like literally where you like WhatsApp someone, so like a company that runs maybe 5 to 10 cars. Or like the third alternative that you have is like to buy a car and employ your own driver. And so this is like one part of the problem that we're solving. The second part of the problem that we're
availability.
It's not just availability,
Coverage.
right? It's so we operate at a significant scale. So like in London alone, we're like running over 1,000 vehicles. The average waiting time is like 7 minutes. We're like growing 40% year on year. And this is like half of the equation. The other half of the equation is the consistency of the service. So we have like typically...
What cities you are? You're in London, you're in Paris, you're in Dubai?
London, Paris, and Dubai. And so let me go back to because I'll make an example. So we have like 3 products typically: Business, First, and Excel. And if you take First, which is our like flagship product, typically the clientele is like ultra high net worth. They spend $50,000 to $100,000 a year on Really. There.
They spend 50 to 100,000
Yes.
on Really.
Yes.
So you're basically on top of any player, right?
Well, that's for this specific product. It's different from business, which is like entry level, which is more like for business travel, which is not priced outrageously because it's basically like 20% above Uber exec, right? But so First, as an example, it's going to be the same standard of driver, whether you use this in London or in Paris or in Dubai. And it's going to be the same make and model of like vehicle. So it's going to be like only a Mercedes S-Class, new generation, long wheelbase, Fiji water, like the towels, you know, like you have like in the hotels, like some Acqua di Parma scent as well. So, and this is what I mean by consistency. It's that people want the same product across like different markets, similar to when you notice like all these like restaurant chains like that are like really, really good. but they have exactly the same product in Dubai and in London. Yeah.
Interesting. So, and you're targeting the global luxurious traveler, or who is like, what is the typical demographic for you? You mentioned, well, maybe it's city by city different. In London, it's more corporate. In Dubai, it's more personal, or
So it's a consumer product, first of all.
Consumer
Of course. So like 80 to 90% of our business is consumer. It's not business, and it varies by product. Like I like to compare, say, like our business product is similar target demographic as, say, American Express Platinum. So typically like younger, not wealthy yet, but like high earning. Whereas for First is typically people who have already like some amount of wealth.
and do people jump between the products? I saw in the app you can just slide.
Yeah.
from left
Of course,
to right.
of course. Yeah, definitely.
And let's talk about the company. You said you're growing 100%.
No, I said 40% year on year, for example, like in London. Yeah.
Year on year. That's quite substantial growth. Are you still losing money, or are you open for investors, or what's your situation?
So no, we're like operationally profitable. Like we're like really focused on the markets we're in the next like 12 months. And so right now we're like not raising. However, like what we want to build and what we're building is the category leader in this space. So we want to build the brand, the product, the service, and the technology for this growing demographic that is able and willing to pay for service they care about. And part of the equation is like it's a city by city model.
Yeah.
It's not about country by country model. Like really works in the likes of like London and Paris. And these are like maybe 20 to 25 cities globally.
What's the acceptable waiting time? 8 to 10 minutes is the max what people do?
The average is like 7.
Yeah.
Like, but it's not only pre-book because sometimes you may want also. It's not only on demand because sometimes you may want to like book in advance, especially if you're like arriving at the airport. Yeah.
And how do you think about market share? Sixt, for example, has chauffeur service. Then there's Black Lane, which was at the conference last year in Zurich. You mentioned 1,000 cars, but your cars are proper cars. Well, the others are also cars, but you have very high end, as you said, big cars. You have like a car pool of like 4,000 or 5,000, or are you like the biggest player in the luxury market in your 3 cities?
So it's like difficult to estimate because we think that we are basically creating this market. We're like not really, say, competing like on the business travel side, which is what most of these players do. We're mostly convincing people to give up car ownership and to stop having a chauffeur on their payroll.
So you're disrupting the classic my chauffeur car model, basically.
Basically, yeah, to some extent.
What Sixt has been, well, but they have also a different model, I think. Fascinating. So you're not open yet for investors, but in a year, they should come. And do you have, how is your customer retention data? Are people sticking to it, the ones who get rid of their chauffeurs? Are they liking the service? Well, when they spend 50 to 100, as you say, per year, it's quite a lot, no?
So when you're looking at like GMV retention, it's like in future years, it's over 100% of year one.
So you basically
like
grow the
exactly
cohorts.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So really is differentiated because you're on top of the market. You offer a consistent service in 3 cities. What's the next city?
So
Secret, probably.
Like always like part of the equation was we have a lot of like North American travelers using Wheelie on these like transatlantic flights. So while they're like in the lounge at like JFK, they just enter like the flight number in the app, and like we know when are they landing, is the flight delayed, what is the terminal, and so forth and so on. And like the chauffeurs like waiting at like arrivals and helping them with their luggage. And they love this European service that they miss in America. And we would love to launch in the US at some point. Like we're like working on that. But
is it equivalent to Wheelie in the US? This model?
No, there is not a model.
Because it's mostly price, right? I mean, if you want to have a nice drive, but for most people, it's price, right? Instead of $20, they don't like to pay $100, unless they don't care, like the ones who you mentioned earlier. Well, wonderful, Anton. Really great to have our partnership. I love your service. The business one. The other one I haven't tried yet. Do you want to take some some questions from the audience, maybe? Because I have to hop now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, happy to do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Anton.
Thank you, Marco.